guys ever see Shawshank Redemption? Classic movie from, I guess that was about 20 years ago. We happened to have it on, family and I did, around Christmas time. And as a result, I'm going to throw in a parallel to your ball club. And you just know it's going to be good, right? Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. So the character that Morgan Freeman plays, if you're worried about spoilers or whatever, the movie's 20 years old, okay? I'm going to give it away. At the end, they let Morgan Freeman's character out of prison because he's super old. He's been in there for like 40 years. And, he tries to re-assimilate into society, and it's a real struggle for him. He has to get this job at a grocery and whatever else. Okay, so where am I going? It's really hard for people who are set in their ways to do something different just because they have all kinds of additional means or different motivations. So, for example, let's say that the report over the weekend from Robert Murray, who's an independent journalist who stays in touch constantly with agents. That's like his thing. He's not really a baseball writer per se. He's an agent's writer. He just communicates with these guys nonstop. And he says that the Pirates are interested in Alex Verdugo, who played for the Yankees in 2024. All right, so everybody who follows the ball club then opens up the Verdugo bio and sees that he's 28 years old. He's generally a corner outfielder, mostly in right, and he's coming off the worst season he's ever had. That was a .233 batting average, 13 home runs, 61 RBIs. Now, overall, he's been a decent hitter, at least in terms of productivity, .272 career over 800 games, but he's maxed out at 13 home runs over 3 separate seasons. He basically is who he is, and to further substantiate that, he's not great in terms of hard hit rate, in terms of exit velocity, in terms of bat speed, and other measurables that tell you, hey, listen, this is just, who this guy is. Okay, so everyone's underwhelmed, as they should be, and everyone's wondering, are these guys even serious? What's wrong with them? Why didn't they just go and get one of these good players who were available when they were still, available? And also, by the way, affordable, even within the Pirates' budget. The budget absolutely positively has room for a $15 million a year corner outfielder. There are a million different ways you can dissect that, but every single time you'll come out with, yeah, they could put that in there. But they don't. And I'm going to guess that they won't. And I'm going to further connect them to Morgan Freeman's character because you're asking them this offseason to do something they haven't done ever. This go buy yourself an outfielder thing is not in Ben Cherington's wheelhouse. He's much more, at least in his own mindset, attuned to the process of getting a player that looks like he might be undervalued and the Pirates can turn him into something and ideally not overpay so that they have other money for this or that, whatever. And he's not going to break out of that. He's not going to break out of it even with his job hanging in the balance. He's not. I guarantee you, if you had Cherington take some kind of lie detector test and asked him what his greatest achievement was as a general manager to date in Pittsburgh, just in these past 5 years, he'd point to Joey Bart. I'm totally serious. Why? Because Bart checks all of his most beloved boxes. A guy who came with serious pedigree, somebody else's top pick, didn't necessarily cut it in their system, comes to your system well, in this case, straight to Pittsburgh and just hits right away. And Bart himself will tell you that's just because he was allowed to actually hit. He got opportunities. And it makes the management team, like overall, in that little scope, look smart. Cherington would take one of those over 10 acquisitions of $15 million annually because he's not taking a risk that would backfire. He's not taking something that would blow up in his face and embarrass him. And even on those exceedingly rare examples of high-priced acquisitions from the outside, and I mean high-priced by Pirates standards, it's been safe. Aroldis Chapman is a safe investment of $10.5 million a year. Why? Because he has one of the greatest arms in the history of the sport. And on top of that, one of the most durable arms in the history of the sport. So the worst thing that was going to happen with Aroldis in Pittsburgh was that he'd have a handful of outings where he walked the world. And those happened, but otherwise Aroldis just added to his ledger. Struck out a bunch of guys, struck some poses afterward, and then left for the next highest bidder by a factor of only $250,000. Whereas, if you go back to an example from last year with Milwaukee, the Brewers investing 3 years and $39 million in Rhys Hoskins when they needed a first baseman and decided that Rowdy Tellez wasn't it. Hoskins is a little bit of a risk. Yeah, the guy can hit in his sleep. And when he was in the Milwaukee lineup, he sure did hit. But he also was out a lot. And the Brewers still don't know what they're going to get out of the final 2 years of that. The thing is, the Brewers aren't anywhere near this risk-averse. Cherington carries himself as if he's terrified of it. So he's looking for a Verdugo. He's looking for a bounce back. He's looking for someone that'll show great value, because that's the kind of stuff that matters to him, as opposed to just filling up the W's in the standings. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Abandon ship, Bob. Sell the team. Are you a Pirates fan who is angry or apathetic about our perennial losing baseball team? Do you feel helpless because you don't know how to make a difference? Well, good news. We have something you can do about it. Join our Sell the Team movement. We're a group of passionate fans voicing our frustration and demanding change through billboard campaigns, press outreach, protests, and involvement at local city government meetings. Go to ourteamnothis.com to get involved.
Today's J1Q is a little unusual. Keith sends along a statement by Robert Kraft, the owner of the NFL's New England Patriots, that was made yesterday upon his firing head coach Jared Mayo. And Keith asked me to read it, which I did, and I'll now read it to you in full. Quote, "Since buying the team, I have always considered myself and my family as custodians of a public asset. We have tremendous fans who expect and deserve a better product than we have delivered in recent years. I apologize for that. I have given much thought and consideration as to what actions I can take to expedite our return to championship contention and determined this move was the best option at this time." End quote. To which Keith asks, custodians of a public asset. Do you think Bob Nutting would ever say anything close to this? You know, Kraft's not an angel, and the Patriots as an organization aren't angels, not to turn this into a football discussion. So everything I'm about to say here doesn't absolve Kraft of any of the creepy stuff he's done over the years and the collective cheating of which the Patriots were very, very, very plainly guilty. Now, all that said, I mean, that's a heck of a statement. Whether he wrote it or someone in his office wrote it, he had to say yes to it. And he had to say, oh, I apologize for that? Yeah, leave that in. Yeah, I apologize for that. That's dealing with your customers. And that's dealing with them, I think, in the proper voice. Because I see, this is just me, owners of sports franchises as exactly this. I have written countless times, including whenever I started the whole our team, not his thing a few years back, that this is not Nutting's team. You know, I know there's always going to be the finger wagging, sure it is, who think that they're being big shot capitalists by pointing out the obvious. But when you're talking about something that is a civic treasure or a civic asset that relies on a sense of civic pride and, of course, civic support, both emotionally and financially, hell no, it's not your team. Hell no. Think about it. This isn't like pointing to any other business. If it was, guess what? The owners of these franchises sure wouldn't feel comfortable approaching local and state governments all the time for money for their facilities, to build them, to maintain them. They sure wouldn't be comfortable pushing all those types of buttons in the debate and dialogue that end up accompanying those. The Pirates are a part of Pittsburgh in the same way that the libraries, that the symphonies, that the operas, that our historical buildings, that our now 50-year-old Point State Park fountain is. They just are. That's not me getting sappy with you. That's who the Pirates are. They're about to enter their 144th year. And of all those things I just mentioned to you, all of them, the Pirates are older. They've been in Pittsburgh longer. Yeah, even the libraries. And if anyone were to attempt to either sell the team or move the team or whatever, you know what I mean, but just relocating them, oh my God, can you imagine the battle that would follow? And can you imagine how much Major League Baseball would resist it? Do you think that baseball would want to see the Pirates, the franchise of Roberto Clemente, playing in some other city when they're having Roberto Clemente Day? No. And if you think back on it, as people talk about relocation so casually, as if it's something that's common, it's not in baseball. I mean, look what it took to get the A's out of Oakland. Look what it took. And they've still not given up that fight fully in Oakland. How have the Rays not moved? How have the Marlins not moved? There is no example anywhere around this sport where you can say, hey, that team showed that it had a fan base that'll come out for you when you're even decent, and they still moved. Unless their stadium situation was a complete disaster. Well, guess who crows louder than anybody else, and rightly so, about their stadium? Pirates can't leave Pittsburgh. The Pirates will never leave Pittsburgh. So yeah, he's the steward of the franchise. He's in charge, and he's got all the ownership documentation. But ultimately, well, Kraft put it well enough. He really did. Or whoever wrote that for him. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. I'm going to do another one of these tomorrow.